Hello, I didn't see you there. Good evening, and welcome to another installment of Intoxicated Literature. This week we'll be talking about Othello, one of Shakespeare's greatest tragedies, and a remarkable piece for the diversity, especially considering the time period. Othello's title character is a Moor, a black man, which in England at the time was quite the cultural anomaly. So, the reason, you may be wondering, that Shakespeare chose to write such a risky character is because there was a black man in a theater troupe that was visiting his theater, and he just thought, we might as well. So, Othello is the title character and also the protagonist, although this is a tragedy, so, it's not going to end up that well for him. I'm Othello. I'm the protagonist of the story, and I'm really trying my best. My only character flaw is that I'm f***ing a white girl, but other than that, I'm an all-around great guy, and I am in charge of the Venetian military. I'm Desdemona, and I'm Othello's wife. I'm really trying my best to be kind to everyone, but this is a tragedy, so I'm gonna get f***ed over regardless. I'm Cassio. I'm Othello's second in command, and I have a couple character flaws. I'm an alcoholic, and I love to make out with other people's wives, but overall, I'm really trying my best. I'm Iago, and, I'm here to f*** it all up. I am the third in command in the Venetian military, but I would love to be the first, so I'm just going to try to screw everybody above me out of their positions of power by any means necessary. I'm Rodrigo, and I'm an idiot. I have a lot of money, and I'm in love with Desdemona. Who the fuck am I?
Iago's wife.
I'm Iago's wife, and I don't do much. I serve as Desdemona's chambermaid, and basically I just witness crime all the time. I'm Brabantio, and I don't understand why my daughter is a black guy. I'm Bianca, and I'm a whore. So Othello is black, he is powerful in the military, and he's fucking a white girl. So his position is really sought after, and his downfall in the tragedy is going to be his race, his power, and his love, which we are all going to see playing together in the first scene. So it opens on the streets of Venice, and Iago and Rodrigo are booking it. They are running to Brabantio's house, who is Desdemona's father. And Iago, who is far cleverer than Rodrigo, he's just like a sad, rich guy, he's like, Brabantio, wake the up, like pounding on the door. And Brabantio's like, well, why? Like, it's the middle of the night. What are you doing? Like, the city better be f***ing burning down. And Iago is like, it's worse. Here's, like, a really convoluted farm metaphor about racism. But basically, your daughter is banging this black guy, and it's, like, really bad. It's gonna reflect badly on your family. It's gonna reflect badly on you, and, like, there's probably gonna be a riot. And Brabantio was like, no, like, she's not. She's up in her room right now, like, chilling like a villain. Desdemona's well-behaved. And Iago is like, no, she's not. Like, go look for her. And Brabantio is like, oh shit, she's not in there. So, he calls the old-timey cops on them, basically. And Othello and Desdemona both get dragged into court. And they're like, because they don't understand that, like, a black man and a white woman could just consensually be married because they like each other. So they're like, shit, Desdemona, are you like, did he like poison you? Like, do you need help? Can we get you out of here? And she's like, no, like, I love him. She's really whiny. Like, that's a pretty accurate rendition of her voice. And Othello is like, yeah, like, we're in love. This is like a legitimate thing. And conveniently at the same time, I guess there's a war going on, and Othello's he's the guy in charge of the military, so the government is like, you gotta go to Cyprus, like, we're fighting the Turks and you need to win. So he's like, okay, bye, I'm leaving. But as he checks out and goes to Cyprus, Brabantio is like, yo, uh, Desdemona, she betrayed me, and she's gonna betray you. Like, watch your back. Like, bitches ain't shit. You know how it is. So they leave, and everybody just is on a series of boats. Actually, not one. That would be too efficient. And we're just heading to Cyprus. And that's Act 1. Alright, so Act 2. The gang is all back together. And before they left, Iago and Rodrigo, who are bros, but, like, not really. Like, Rodrigo just thinks they're friends, and Iago's, like, fake. He's like, yo, Desdemona is smoking, and I will give you all the gold doubloons in the world to just, like, have intercourse with her. So, he's like, yeah, we can make that happen. Like, I'm a tricky bitch. I will arrange for that. So everybody rolls up in Cyprus, and it's like, first it's just Cassio and the ladies. So Cassio is like the vice president of the military. He's like the second in command to Othello. And he is chilling with Iago's wife, Emilia, and Othello's wife, Desdemona. And he's a troubled guy. He's an alcoholic, and also he's one of those people who just kisses everyone. So he is like, oh, Emilia, like, ooh. And he makes out with other people's wives, which I don't know if that was culturally acceptable, but most people were letting it slide. So he's just chilling with the babes. And then Othello he just drives on a separate ship, and he's like, we're good. Like, I lived, we're here, the army has arrived. Desdemona, let's go bang. And she's like, okay, bye. So they just leave. And everybody else is just chilling. And Iago gets there. And for some reason, he just rolls up and immediately calls his own wife Strumpet. Which, like, not cool, right? Like, you can't do that. But he does. It's because he's just trying to destroy everyone's credibility except his own. So he called his wife a whore because Cassio, like, kissed her, which is kind of Cassio's fault. But anyway, convenient plot note. The Turkish army that they were supposed to fight, all their ships sank on the way there. Like, the war is done. We're just, that's good. So they're all in Cyprus. The war is immediately over, and it's just, they're gonna have a banger. So Iago is like, Cassio, my man, I know that you like a good party, which is true because Cassio is an alcoholic. So he is like, hey, let's get some mead, let's get some gals, let's have a party. And Cassio's like, yeah, that sounds great. So Cassio goes off to procure a barrel of wine or something like that. And Iago is just there with Rodrigo, his boy toy. And he's like, Rodrigo, I think Cassio is, like, pretty hot, and Desdemona is definitely, like, down for that. So if you're trying to win her, you have to take Cassio down a couple notches, because he's your biggest competition right now. Ignoring the fact that she's married, like, what about Othello? But Rodrigo's dumb, so he doesn't know. So basically, Cassio's drunk, Rodrigo has a plan, and they end up, like, brawling. So there's a fight, and Othello walks out and is like, why? Why are you fighting each other? And he demotes Cassio. He's like, you can't do that. And Cassio is mad about it. And he is crying, and he, like, goes to Desdemona because she has influence over Othello. And he's like, can I have my job back? Like, I'm so sad. I just didn't mean it. And she's like, yeah, I can help you. And Othello comes back after that, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna help Cassio. Like, he sucks. So Iago has a lot of schemes going on at this general time. And he's like, I think I have a really good plan, which is that I'm gonna make it look like Desdemona is cheating on Othello by getting a handkerchief from her and like, planting it on some other dude. But, he's like, yo, my wife, Amelia, is Desdemona's, like, handmaid for some reason, so she can totally, like, smuggle that shit out of there. And Amelia's dumb, so she's like, of course, Iago, like, that sounds great. I could definitely make that happen for you. And she does it, and he's like, cool. So I have this handkerchief, and he now goes to Othello and is like, hey, this is just totally random, like, just a thought, but, like, maybe Desdemona's cheating on you? And Othello is like, no. Like, no. No, she wouldn't do that. But at the same time, he's, like, thinking to himself, like, oh, shit. You know, Iago's a good guy. He's trustworthy. So, maybe she is. And Iago's scheme is beginning to come into play because Othello believes him over Desdemona. So, Amelia gave Iago the handkerchief that he needed to frame some poor man. And Othello is like, yo, what the f***? Like, how? How is that possible? Because Iago told him that he saw Cassio with Desdemona's handkerchief. And I don't know how, like, identifiable handkerchiefs were back in the day. But Othello is, like, pissed about it.
It was Othello's handkerchief that he got from, like, a long lost relative or something.
Yeah, wasn't it like his mom's or something? It's like a family heirloom, and
yeah.
Amelia just stole that shit, and now he's like, why did you give my mom's handkerchief to another man? Like, you whore. What? And, yeah. So, he is like, Desdemona, what the f***? Where's my handkerchief? And she's like, why are you yelling at me? Like, I have it right here. And then she goes to look for it, and, she doesn't, of course, because Amelia stole it from her. And Bianca is a prostitute. Like, she's a pretty one-dimensional character. She's just a hooker. And she's Cassio, because Cassio is just a bachelor. You know, he's living life. He's a single guy. So Bianca comes in and is like, Cassio, like, bae, what are you doing? And Cassio is like, hey, do you happen to want a handkerchief? Because he's really dumb. And he doesn't know that it was Desdemona's because he's a victim as well. And so he gives the family heirloom handkerchief to a whore, and that's a whole new problem now. So Iago and Othello, you know, they're bros. They're chilling. They're having a good time. And Iago is like, hey, this is, like, crazy, like, what if, you know? But, like, do you ever imagine, like, if Cassio and Desdemona were, like, kissing, and, like, what if they f***ed? And Othello is, like, he was not prepared for that statement, and he is so shook that he literally has a seizure. Like, he's down for the count. And Cassio walks in and is like, that's a medical emergency. Like, Iago, can I get you help? And Iago's like, f*** off, like, I got it. It's fine. I'm a doctor. I'll deal with this. Come back in when I tell you to. So he revives Othello somehow, and he's like, okay, I'm sorry you had a seizure, but Cassio is just in here, and I have a bang-up plan. So what if you hide, like, in a closet or something, and I'll talk to Cassio and see if I can get him to say anything about Desdemona. And then, like, you'll know the truth, because he thinks he can trust me. Not that I'm a liar, though. Like, I'm not. And Othello is like, that's a great plan. Like, I'm gonna get in that closet. So he does. And, Iago was like, oh, Cassio, come back in. And Cassio he's unsuspecting. He's like, oh, where did Othello go? And Iago's like, he's cured. It's fine. But, been banging anyone lately? And Cassio, he and Iago talk about Bianca, the hooker, all the time. So he's like, yeah, like, there's this total strumpet who I've, like, been 24/7, and it's, like, great. And he's like, oh, shit, really? And meanwhile, in the wardrobe from Narnia or whatever, Othello is like, he's pissed. he's like, you're banging my wife. Like, what the hell? Because they haven't said any names. And so Bianca makes a surprise entrance, and she's like, you bitch, you gave me another woman's handkerchief. So Othello was like, F***. He stole my dead mother's handkerchief for my beloved wife who he's banging, and like is now giving it away to whores other than my whore wife. Drake. Okay, this is where the story really picks up. Othello is like, I literally need to kill my wife. And Iago's like, yeah, you do. And he's like, that really sucks, because, like, I love her. And so he is plotting the murder. So later that day, they're talking to this local dude. Desdemona says something, like, out of line, and Othello, like, punches her in the face in public, in front of, like, the mayor. Like, what? And she's like, babe, why did you punch me in the face? And the mayor guy is like, I thought Othello was, like, a good dude. Like, he just decked his wife in front of me. So Desdemona later that night is in her bed chambers or whatever, and she's like, Amelia, Othello's been like really mad at me lately, and I think he's gonna kill me. And Amelia's like, what? Like, what? No, he's not. Like, Othello, I don't know what that's about, but like, you have to go set the record straight, because he's a good dude and he's not gonna murder you. So Iago's plan is coming to fruition perfectly. And he's like, so I have to tie up the loose ends here. And Cassio and Rodrigo both independently know too much. Because at this point, Rodrigo, he is trying to f*** Desdemona so hard. And he has been giving Iago, like, sacks of precious metal and jewelry to, like, win her love. And Iago's like, yeah, no, I'll definitely give this to Desdemona. And he does not. And Rodrigo is like, why doesn't she love me yet? Like, I gave you so much jewelry. And Iago, not wanting to admit that he's been cheating this guy, is like, I think it's because she loves Cassio. So, like, the only solution is to murk Cassio. And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. Rodrigo has set out to end Cassio, because he's like, you're what stands between me and the woman of my dreams. So he goes out and is like, Cassio, you villain, time to die. And Cassio is ready. Like, he has a sword. He's a military guy. He's like, no, you're not gonna fight me. And he just stabs him. And Iago, who's there lurking in the shadows, was kind of banking on them killing each other, so there are no witnesses to his scheme. And he's like, wow, Rodrigo really sucks at sword fighting, so I'm gonna have to hop in and like get involved in this. So he cuts Cassio's leg, and then he starts yelling, and the townspeople come out of their houses, and they're like, oh shit, a fight in the street. And Iago is like, tis the villain Cassio, like, he has stabbed Rodrigo. Tis the villain Rodrigo, he has stabbed Cassio.
That's the right one.
So he's like, I'm a man of honor. Like, this is a bad fight, and Rodrigo started it. So I'm just gonna go over here in this dark corner and murder Cassio, murder Rodrigo to death. So he does that, and everyone is like, that's fair. So Rodrigo is toast, which is exactly what Iago wanted. But meanwhile, way across town, the drama continues to build. So Othello has been whipped up into a murderous rage, and he enters Desdemona's bed chambers and is like, alright, I'm gonna have to kill you. And she's like, why? He's like, yeah, this is really unfortunate, because you're really hot, so, like, I don't want to kill you, and, like, you've been a good wife, but, you cheated on me, you whore, so you need to die. And, he is like, okay, death time, and he smothers her with a pillow. And as we'll find out later, he had a sword, but he wanted the least efficient manner of death, because it's a tragedy, so
no, smothering was like an intimate death. That's why he did it.
I'm not a psychologist, but he smothers her, and she goes limp or whatever, like you do when you die. And Amelia, who's the chambermaid, hears all of this murder yelling and is like, bitch, let me in. And she comes in and sees Desdemona dead on the bed and is like, Othello, why? Did you just kill her? And like, she doesn't want to assume Othello's a murderer, so she's like, was there like a burglar or something? And Othello, who's not the sharpest tool in the shed, is like, nah, I just killed her. Like, you know, she was a whore, so. And Emilia was like, I don't think that she was cheating on you, because why would she do that? And Othello was like, well, Iago said that she gave Cassio my dead mother's handkerchief, so that's a pretty strong implication of cheating. And Emilia, who got the handkerchief for Iago, is like, shit, I know exactly what happens, and Iago, like, did that. Like, he tricked you. He, you know, he's not a good guy. Like, we all thought that he was, but this is clearly some sort of ruse, and you just killed your wife because of it. And then, well, she's not dead yet. Desdemona gets up and is like, I'm sorry I had to die, but, like, I'm a good Christian gal, and if that's what it took, then here we are. And then she dies. Like, for real this time, she's dead. And, the police roll up? You can tell it's getting towards the end because everyone is in one room. Everybody has showed up, and they're like, Othello, you killed your wife? And he's like, yeah, like, I guess I did. But the major problem here is that Iago's been lying to all of us. And Iago is like, what are you talking about? And Emilia, who finally gets a clue, is like, you did all of this. You organized this scheme, and, like, this is your fault, and you suck, and everyone deserves to know it. And he's like, woman, shut your mouth, wife. Like, you, you just, and then he can't think of a reason why she shouldn't talk, and he just stabs her, because everyone has a sword. So Emilia's down for the count, and everyone just watched Iago murder his wife. So that's pretty incriminating. And he flees the scene, only to be retrieved by the cops, like, 45 seconds later. So that was unnecessary. But he comes back and then is like, I'm not explaining myself, I will never speak again. And meanwhile, everyone realizes that, like, if Iago just killed his own wife to cover this up, then the story must be true. And Othello killed Desdemona for no reason. So Othello, who is a noble but stupid character to the end, is like, the only solution now is for me to just, kill myself. So he takes his sword or dagger or whatever and is like, sorry. And then he dies. And everyone is just standing in this room with, like, 3-4 corpses, and the government is like, well, Cassio, you're kind of the last man standing here, and we get it that you're an alcoholic and that you might f*** other people's wives for all we know, but, like, you're the best that we can do. So Cassio is promoted to the deputy? To
The leader of Cyprus.
The army.
The army.
He's
in charge of
direct.
Cyprus.
Yeah,
he's the
leader of the
director.
army.
Yeah.
He's the director of the army now. Because the police told him that he could be. And he is like, you know what? I am just gonna, I'm gonna take Iago off your hands. Don't worry about it. He's a bad man, and I'm going to torture him for the rest of his life. So, justice is sort of served, as much as it can be in a tragedy. And that is the end of Othello.
Iago gives Rodrigo advice to get Desdemona. He's like, put money in the
Dorito. Wait, why is the accent British if this happens in Italy?
That's what there's a show on Netflix, and it's about Italian people, and they're all like, oh my god, I'm part of the Medici. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's more like,
Italian.
oh my god, I'm part of the Medici. That's why they don't want that.
Because, that's, yeah.
This is Act 3, by the way. Transitioned into Act 3.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed the handkerchief thing. Okay, so and this is in the day before oil. No, they had candles, but, like, you wouldn't make a street light out of candles, right? You guys are gonna have to on camera. This is
you and me?
project.
You and me!
Plot twist, Iago was there lurking in the shadows the entire time, And they're all fucking
Alright,
yelling.
Stop, you're wrong.
He is like tally-ho Cassio. So he just fucking... That's the action. Out of Rodrigo, like, to death. He stabs him to the point of murder.
He
death.
doesn't kill him! Okay.
It's a dark street, and all of the main characters are
There.
No! They are not! Holy shit!
Maybe it's dark, maybe he just sucks, it's hard to say. But he slices Cassio's leg, and Cassio is like,
No, he doesn't! This is the third time we've tried to do this!
Nellie,
Holy woman, okay! Here's what happens! Oh my god! Read the notes I made you!
I swear to God, those are in the wrong order. No, I'm just gonna explain it. It's fine.
Shittily again.
Are we good?
Tune in next week for another episode of Intoxicated Literature.
Intoxicated literature.
Oh my god, you did it. All the important people in the play, basically.
Yeah, with the cops, right?
I don't know if there was a police back then.
There definitely were.
Who's to say, though?
Does she wander deep inside her slumber from dream to dream? And what does she dream? Oh, you know